This week is Congenital Heart Defect Awareness Week, and today we're shining a light on a condition that affects 1 in every 100 babies. It's actually the most common birth defect, but here's the hopeful part. Thanks to research and major advances in treatment, more people with CHD are living long, healthy, full lives, and one of those survivors is actually with us this morning, Camille Nguyen, an American Heart Association advocate and an SMU student. Good morning to you.
Good morning. Thank you for having me.
I'm so glad to have you. So let's start with your story a little bit. You were 12 years old when you found out you had congenital heart disease. Take us back to that moment. What were you experiencing? What were your parents maybe experiencing? What were you noticing?
Yeah, so a year prior to my diagnosis, I was having increasing symptoms of lightheadedness, dizziness, fatigue, and I remember going to my doctor about this at 12 and was dismissed, unfortunately. And none of my family members believed in me either because I was a very healthy child. I did all the sports, no pre-existing health conditions, and so I felt very disheartened, but I knew something was wrong. So a few months later, I ended up trying out for my school's volleyball team, and all we needed was a normal physical. And the nurse there wouldn't sign off on it. She said my heart rate was alarmingly low and that insisted I should see a cardiologist.
Wow.
And so once I went to the cardiologist, they ran a few tests, and specifically the EKG, which is a heart monitor that observes my heart for 48 to 24 hours. And they noticed that my heart rate was flatlining multiple times a night.
Wow.
So they immediately called my mom and said, we need to rush her into emergency pacemaker surgery. So when I was 12, I have an implanted pacemaker, and then every 10 years I have to get replacement surgery. So I had my first replacement surgery this past August.
I was just about to say,
Yes.
you just told me you're a junior in college,
Yes.
so you must have just gone through that.
Yes.
Tell me what that replacement was like, because now you're in a space where you've recovered, but it's a situation where you have to keep coming back to it, ensuring that you're keeping your eye on your health and on your body.
It makes me very cognizant of what's going on in my body. And you know, every 10 years we hit that point of, okay, I need to recover, I need to make sure that I'm okay, because I feel like the recovery process is so frustrating, especially since it's seemingly a slower process, or my first one seemingly is slower to heal, of course, but going back and having it every 10 years when you're healthy for majority of that years, and then having to sit down for a month, you know, not raise up my arms, not do anything was very frustrating.
It's almost like a reality check, like, okay, this is still a part of my life. But I also like that you fit in there that you were 12 years old and you still took the time to advocate for yourself, because a lot of the times we find ourselves in situations where we know what we feel, but we're being told that that's maybe not accurate. And so tell me, because you took action, and so let's start with high school. You first took action there. Tell me what you did.
So I founded the American Heart Association Club and led that for 4 years. And I researched and taught about 50 kids weekly about medical topics, but specifically about heart health education, because I noticed that there was really a lack of awareness within the kids in my school. And we ended up doing things like that. I also ended up broadening the reach of the club by partnering with my school's nurses. So I taught CPR to about 300 kids, and also did blood pressure tests for about 400 kids. So broadening it throughout my campus. And in our community, we did philanthropic initiatives such as annual toy drives, where we donated about 500 by the time I graduated, which was incredible. And also volunteering with Love Packs, which is a nonprofit for food insecure families, so doing food drives on that end.
My goodness, when I say your hurdle can turn into a testimony, I mean, I can just picture you at 17 years old and just some of the things that you're saying, I mean, grown people do with their nonprofits. And so it's incredible that your advocacy came on so strong so early. Tell me, you then got to SMU and wanted to continue there, keep growing there. What are you doing now at SMU?
Yes, so when I was a freshman, I was nominated as a Woman of Impact for the American Heart Association. And so that's a fundraising and awareness campaign. I was able to fundraise funds for women's policies, specifically for heart health, and research catering towards that as well. And I ended up doing my first big fundraising campaign at 18, and it taught me a lot about myself, but also on the awareness side, this is the first time my college friends, my community has heard about my story. I got to talk to Dallas companies about this, partner with the SMU nurses on teaching on-campus CPR, and I'm furthering this message through a grant that I received last year. So it was a $2,500 grant called Heart to Heart, and it's a heart health, CPR, and AED training initiative for K-12 schools in the DFW area and at SMU. So we're projected to reach about 1,000 students by the end of this month, which is incredibly exciting. And that's what's going on right now.
All I can say is, wow, that's the only word I've got for you, because you really are making your mark in our community, but also in the association, and saying, okay, I'm not going to let this hold me back. And I think that is a true representation, and someone needs to hear that and see that being done so that they can do it too. So we appreciate you for being vulnerable, coming on and sharing with us. And if you heard her story and are thinking, okay, I'm ready to raise awareness as well, or maybe this helped me to learn so much more about Congenital Heart Defect Awareness Week, all you have to do is visit heart.org. Thank you so much, Camille.
Thank you for having me.